So we'll take a look at the passive tree changes here. First thing to note is we dropped pretty much the entire shadow area and passed north through the int. We've gone over here and grabbed melding, and we've also grabbed tolerance. The build struggles to get chaos resistance, especially if you don't have a mage blood like I don't. And we've also taken the corrupted blood cannot be inflicted on you mastery. This obviously can be grabbed from jewels in the build, but for each unique mastery we gain 3% more damage, so I think it's definitely more than okay to pick it up from the tree in our case here. We've also gone over here and grabbed Faith and Steel with its mastery for 3% more damage and 10% of physical damage taken as chaos damage. Since we have increased our chaos resistance greatly, this node gives us an additional Phys Max hit pool. We've also grabbed Unnatural Calm for some more energy shield, and we paired that with 10% less physical damage taken when on full energy shield. And this is pretty common, especially to have full energy shield, since we have ES Overleech, we have instant ES Leech, and we have ES Recovery on kill. So a lot of these things together make it so we're almost always on full energy shield. Another big change is I've gone ahead and dropped both of the medium cluster jewels. Those were again overkill on damage, still one-shotting all of the Ubers. We've grabbed Deep Thoughts for the 12% mana reservation efficiency of skills. I also changed out one of my rare jewels to a Lethal Pride jewel. Now, there's a lot of options when it comes to Lethal Pride. I was able to find a pretty good option. This Lethal Pride comes with 4% increased life, 5% double damage, 40% increased armor, 5% of physical damage as extra fire damage, and another 5% double damage if we take the recoup nodes. Recoup nodes I think are quite strong as a hybrid build, especially since the damage you take on your ES pool also starts to recoup it from your life pool. And we've taken the mastery for the recoup for 3% more damage, and also our recoup happens about 25% faster. And we've also changed our mastery from the increased aura effect on our reservation mastery to +1 all maximum elemental resistances if you've reserved life and mana. We're able to achieve this by socketing an arrogance and vitality together. +1 max res is pretty strong for your EHP. Now for some gem link changes. So one thing that I did is I moved Discipline into my helmet here, and I also linked Herald of Ash with Awakened Increased Area of Effect, and I've gone with Divergent Herald of Ash. This gets boosted by the Ashes of the Stars as well, so we get a fair bit of increased area of effect. We are doing a lot of overkill damage, so we want those Herald of Ash explosions to be as big as possible so we can get as big of an AoE for our clear as possible. This combined with all of the other changes with the changes to mana reservation efficiency allows us to fit Awakened Increased Area of Effect into the build. Now I've also gone ahead and I've dropped the Life Tap Vortex Bone Shell setup. You can keep it in. It does definitely help for one-shotting Uber Exarch, but I felt like I could still burst them down before they could do anything, so I didn't need to have that additional extra damage, especially when I'm farming other Uber bosses. I don't need to instantly kill them, and with this amount of damage we instantly kill Uber Maven and we instantly kill Uber Shaper as well. So I'm actually going to post a little clip about how fast this does Uber Maven, because it actually does so much damage so quickly that it glitches Uber Maven and you only have to do 2 phases. It glitches at the end and she just dies instead of doing the third phase. And instead of the Bone Chill and Vortex setup, I've changed that to cast 1 damage taken, Molten Shell, and Enfeeble. This obviously will inflate your EHP numbers here, because these aren't always going to be up, but without them up, 42,000 EHP is still a decently high pool. When these are both down, I can still take 3 Uber Shaper Balls, so I don't think it's too much of a concern to think that this is a padded figure, because I can still take a fair bit of damage from the Uber bosses, especially when you consider the recovery, because if you're hitting anything during that time, you'll recover to full, and then you'll be able to take some more hits. So even if the EHP looks a little bit lower, your recovery is so insane that it seems like the build really feels like your EHP is even higher than this. So I will quickly run over some of the gear changes that I've made to the build. So we'll start with the bow. For the bow, the biggest pickup was 25% of physical damage converted to cold damage. I got that on the tree along with the other 2 totem nodes. Since we are reducing our damage by a fair bit by adding a lot of defenses, I thought it was pretty crucial to get another 10 or 15% more damage from the tree. Probably don't 100% need it. You can probably still one-shot or close to one-shot, or at least insta-phase most bosses without it, but it is a pretty hefty upgrade. I also grabbed Mage Bane on the tree of my bow. Now this is a bit of a side grade because you do lose a bit of evasion chance, but you gain quite a bit of spell suppression. So you can choose Mage Bane, you cannot choose Mage Bane. It's kind of net neutral for the EHP. Personally, I find I get hit more by spells in Path of Exile, so I thought it was better to pick up Mage Bane than leave my evasion rating there. So if you're looking to make some upgrades, I would definitely keep an eye out for a physical damage converted to cold damage base bow. For the quiver, I changed that. I lost some spell suppression chance there, but I changed it from physical damage as extra cold to physical as extra lightning damage, because this gives us an ability to shock if we take a shock node on the tree, or if we run conductivity or something to that effect. Since I changed my amulet, I also needed to pick up some fire leech, so I grabbed it on my asphyxias. If there was a spell suppression and physical extra lightning damage available, I would have scooped that up, but it's not, so this is the next best that I went with. Shiver stays the same. The chest, I redid my chest to include Deafening Essence of Loathing, the increased mana reservation efficiency of skills, 10%. This isn't necessarily needed on the build with the way I currently have it set up, but if you don't have some of the additional things that I get to reduce your mana reservation, this is a strong choice that you can do. I made this chest piece with this chance to suppress in about 1 or 1.5 divines of Deafening Essence of Loathing. You're just looking for high evasion, high energy shield, and a resist. So it's really not too hard to craft one of these guys here. I don't have a life roll on the chest, so what I did instead is I picked up the 15% increased maximum life if there are no life modifiers on your equipped body armor. The additional EHP from the chest, along with the mana reservation and that 15%, more than compensates us for not having a life roll on the chest. I was able to increase our energy shield up to 3,200 and our life to almost 3.9, giving us a total of, what is that, 7,200 EHP. Well, I guess just HP. Other changes. I dropped the Torch Oak Steps. I felt like the increased totem life on Torch Oak Steps was not worth the opportunity cost in losing life, spell suppression, chaos resistance, movement speed. We are able to be compensated for some of the damage loss of the increased totem life by getting the implicit 4%, I guess you could get it up to 5% of physical damage added as extra cold damage. Now I may change this to lightning damage just so I can get some higher percent shocks on the bosses. Right now I'm only hitting about 15% shock, so it's not fantastic. I'm still keeping my eyes out for some additional options on how to change that. I did also change the anoint on our amulet. I changed that to Soul of Steel. That gives us an additional maximum resist, some additional armor as well. If you are, even with recrafting your chest, having some issues with mana reservation because you don't either have the corruption on your helmet, you don't have the enchant on your helmet, you don't have an ashes, you can just keep this the same. You can keep it as, I believe I had charisma previously for mana reservation. You can keep it there and probably not even use the ashes, and you can just combine that with the chest piece. You should be able to fit in all the auras. If you are having troubles with fitting all the auras as well, I have chosen myself to have a 6-link lightning warp setup. What you can do instead is, because this isn't needed for sure, you can drop this into a 4-link, and then you can put in your auras in here with an enlighten if you don't have the expensive helmet enchant and corruption. Everything should be able to fit if you do it that way. I'm just going to do a quick look and see if I have any other gearing changes here. I already went over the Lethal Pride when we went over the tree. Oh, one other change is on the current build or POB that I'm going to post, it has this Circle of Guilt that curses enemies with conductivity on hit. I'm going to change this for several reasons. One, well, I guess the reason why I have it in the first place is conductivity gives a 25% chance to shock, and we do need to find a chance to shock somewhere on the build. This actually ends up resulting in lower shocks than if we just drop a node and pick up this 15% chance to shock node, and that is because of this ailment inversion node. So if we lower the enemy resistances, the inversion is not going to lower their lightning resist to the point where we're hitting bigger shocks. So you actually want the enemy to have higher elemental resistances so that when the inversion hits and we shock, we get higher shock values on the monster. So don't go out and shop, in my opinion, for a conductivity ring, especially because we're going to be wanting to run Enfeeble. And I'm going to go over Enfeeble in some of our gem links changes in just one moment here.